This is WAAY 31 Law Call.
Good evening and welcome to WAAY 31 Law Call. I'm Sharon Joviat. Tonight we're taking your calls and questions about insurance claims. Have you ever had an insurance adjuster that denied your claim or lowballed your claim, or they're just taking their sweet time about returning your calls? Are they finding the kind of reasons to avoid paying you and you think this is a ripoff? Well, tonight's your night to call in and ask questions about it. The 31 Law Call number 256-536-0077. You can also email a question. You can email anytime, any day of the week on any legal topic, and when we get to a show that's on point, we pull some out. We've got some of your email questions tonight. Call in your questions about insurance claims. We've got with us both Heath Brooks and William Meservey from Timberlake and Leak. Good to have you guys here.
Good to be here.
While you're getting all the calls in and set up, let's take a look at tonight's You Be the Judge. Here's our law call video from tonight. So this is something we found on YouTube. So look in the back, there is a transfer truck back there, and at first I thought it was some kind of tanker truck, but you guys had a different take on what it is they're hauling back there.
I think it is a windmill blade.
And it happens to be on the railroad tracks, and there is a train coming.
It's speeding up now, though.
There it goes.
Right
okay. So we understand that everybody is okay, but a lot of damage there. When you see something like that, you guys do personal injury cases all the time. So that's car accidents, things like this. What do you start looking for?
You know, the thing about a railroad, anytime you have a vehicle that's stuck on train tracks, generally it's going to be the vehicle that is stuck on the train tracks that is going to be at fault.
Okay.
A lot of those types of claims are governed by federal law, sometimes by state law. Sometimes there's some malfunction in the bars that close. Sometimes the signals are not appropriate when you're dealing with a train coming quickly. But if you're stuck on the train tracks and you get hit by an oncoming train, most of the time that's going to be the company or the person who's stuck on the train tracks. Looks like in that scenario, there was a bad turn, they couldn't make the turn right, and so that's kind of what happened.
Yeah.
It also is state specific, but there are laws governing wide loads. And so you saw on the front a clearly demarcated sign that says wide load, and you saw the escort vehicle in front of it, right? So under Alabama law, depending on the size of the load, it requires either one or two escort vehicles. But a lot of states have moved to a more modern approach that requires a police escort. And, you know, there can be coordination with utilities, with railroads, and different things. So you see this a lot when people have homes moved. They may coordinate with the utility company to have the power shut off for some overhead power lines.
Yeah.
You know, so there is coordination with the community that should occur in those type scenarios. And it may be a situation where they didn't properly scout the route.
They're dangerous train tracks. I worked with an organization one time where we tried to get an at-grade crossing. The railroad company to give us an at-grade crossing, and the railroad company said, look, we'll help you access your property any way we can. We're not going to give you that, because every time you have an at-grade crossing, it builds a potential liability. And they're very, very dangerous, areas.
At grade meaning flat across?
Flat across the road.
Okay.
In other words, the train tracks don't go over the road.
Yeah.
They're, just like a regular crossing. You'll notice there's specific areas where those are, and there's not a lot of new ones.
Interesting. Okay, tonight we're taking calls and questions about insurance claims, and we've got callers waiting. Remy is on the line with a question from Florence. Hi, Remy. Thanks for calling. What's your question tonight?
Hi, Sharon. Thank you for taking my
Sure.
question. Real quick, I was involved in a hit-and-run accident in 2016.
Okay.
I ran the person down. I had the police file a report. I was working for the federal government at the time. I went to one of these local lawyers you see on TV, filed the claim with him. He said he didn't want to take the case. Then 2 years later, he called me before the time ran out, said he wanted to take the case. So then he met with that person's lawyer and said he came up with a deal. While I was sitting in his office, my lawyer's office, he called the insurance company, my insurance company, for the subrogation amount, which was about $3,000. And he told the insurance company in my presence that he would pay that as part of the claim. And then what happened was, when we got ready to settle, they called me down to the office. They told me to sign a paper so I could get my part of the claim. And when they went to give me the claim, instead of a lousy $2,500, which wouldn't have even paid what I paid on my insurance for the vehicle, they had $1,500 going to the lawyer, and gave me $1,000. And so at that point, I threw the pen and the check back at him, and I said, I'm not taking a lousy $1,000 for this case when you're getting more than I am. And so now the reason I'm calling you is this is the third letter I've got from the insurance company demanding the $2,900 for subrogation that the lawyer said he was paying.
Okay. First off, explain what subrogation is. What's he talking about?
So subrogation occurs when you've got either your car insurance is paid part of your health bill, or they pay your own car insurance is paid for the damages for your vehicle, or your health insurance company has paid for your health care costs. If you had to go to the emergency room or something like that, they expect to get paid back if you get a recovery. And that's what subrogation is. But it sounds like in your scenario, what has happened is whether it was your car insurance company that was asking for subrogation or whether it was your health insurance company that was asking for subrogation, somebody had alerted them to the fact that you had a settlement. And so whenever you get a settlement on a case or whenever you get a verdict in a trial, you're going to be responsible to pay back your insurance company. Sometimes your lawyer will be on the hook for that as well. But you have to accept that settlement. So I think that in your scenario where you didn't agree to the resolution, you never really had one. So I would suggest that you contact. Don't put those letters from your insurance company in a drawer like sometimes when we don't want to pay a bill and forget that they exist. Call your insurance company, let them know the situation, and then follow that up with something in writing just to say, hey, look, thanks for talking to me. As I related to you, there was no settlement in my case. I did not accept any sort of money for this claim. Therefore, you wouldn't be entitled to any subrogation. And see what kind of response you get at that time.
Yeah, I agree with Heath on this because subrogation sounds in contract law. It is a contractual claim, right? Mm-hmm. And so you have a contract of insurance with your health insurance carrier. You have a contract of insurance with your own auto insurance company, and a lot of times that carries with it a medical payments policy that'll pay dollar for dollar medical bills up to a certain amount. And so what happens is when you're injured in a wreck, your health insurance company says, okay, you know what? I've got a contract of insurance to take care of this fella. I'm going to pay for his injuries, right? But at the moment you reach a settlement, there is a contractual clause in your contract that says, okay, if a third party is responsible for this and you collect money from the third party, we're entitled to get our money back. So the subrogation claim becomes ripe when you reach a settlement or you get a jury verdict.
Okay.
And so that's what happens. They've said, all right, I'm going to pay for this. This is my contractual responsibility. And then little Johnny in the front says, you know what, teacher, I did this. At which point, your health insurance carrier is going to say, all right, I want my money back then, right? Yeah. So that's what happens. And, he's absolutely right. If there was no agreement reached, it sounds like no agreement was signed, then that subrogation right really never came to fruition.
Good luck with it, Remy. Okay, was it Howie? I had trouble hearing. Is it Howie on the line? Hi, Howie. Yeah. Thanks for calling. What's your question tonight?
Yeah, I've got a related question. I have health insurance which covers a hospitalization and medical expenses in case if I have an accident. I also have auto insurance with a underinsured rider that goes with it. And if I get into an accident, most accidents these days my medical bill will probably be more than my underinsured policy. So my question is, with my health care insurance first picks up the medical bill and it's more than the underinsured, why should I bother filing a claim for my uninsured motorist? It seems worthless. It's just going to pay the health insurance off and I'll get nothing.
Yep.
Well, that's an excellent point. And so, the first thing, let's unpack this. When you have health insurance, your health insurance typically doesn't pay dollar for dollar what your medical bills what you're going to be charged for your medical bills. In other words, you go to one of the local hospitals in the area, Huntsville Hospital or Crestwood, they're going to have a retail rate of medical bill. Say for a CT scan, it may be $4,500. However, they have contractual agreements with your health insurance provider where as long as they agree to accept your health insurance, then your health insurance only has to pay a fraction of what the retail rate is of your medical bills. right? So in a situation where your health insurance company has paid that fractional amount to your healthcare provider, whether it's Crestwood, whether it's Huntsville Hospital or the Orthopedic Center or Sports Med or what have you, you only have to pay back what your health insurance company paid for your subrogation amount. And so oftentimes what you find is if you get in a wreck, maybe you go to the emergency room, maybe you have some medical treatment, and your medical bills are only $2,000 or $3,000, but you have much more significant injuries than what those bills may really seem to be. In other words, you may have $15,000 in hospital bills, but your health insurance only pays $2,000. And if the person who hits you didn't have any insurance on their car or not enough insurance on the car, then all those other damages, like you were out of work, who's going to take care of your lost wages? Or maybe you lost the enjoyment of your life. Maybe you couldn't spend time with your grandchildren or your children. You know, those kinds of things are the intangible sorts of damages that your uninsured motorist policy can cover.
You're absolutely right. And in addition to that, and that's a huge benefit that they're going to negotiate down that retail bill, right? But in addition to that, just like your settlement or your, with the insurance company is negotiable.
That's right.
So is subrogation. There's a good argument to be made that it has to be fair and equitable to all parties. So, if your health insurance carrier is set up to get the bulk of your recovery, a good lawyer is going to go in there and negotiate them way down on what they're entitled to recover under that specific set of facts. Now, there are some exceptions to that, right? If it's a self-funded ERISA plan, which is a retirement plan, the U.S. Supreme Court has held they do not have to come off those numbers. And then, for a lot of people here locally, if you're insured with TRICARE, they will work with you under certain circumstances, but by and large, they don't have to reduce either. But for the average citizen who's carrying, Blue Cross Blue Shield or United Healthcare, your lawyer, if you get a good one, is going to go in there and negotiate those bills down.
Yeah,
so that they can maximize what the injured party is going to recover.
We spend a lot of time doing that.
They sure do.
Very interesting. Good luck with it, Howie. We're going to take a break, be right back answering more of your questions. If you're on the line, stay on the line, and we'll be right back. More talking about insurance claims.
You're watching WAAY 31 Law Call, where lawyers come to help. Your rights, your calls, live. Hosted by family law attorney Sharon Dovian. With the personal injury attorneys of one of the Valley's most respected law firms, Timberlake and League. Featuring the knowledge of managing partner Michael Timberlake, with millions of dollars awarded to his clients. And the experience of attorney Will League, a strong courtroom fighter known for his commitment to winning. And the fellow partners of Timberlake and League Heath Brooks and William Meservey. This is WAAY 31 Law Call.
Welcome back to 31 Law Call. Tonight we're taking calls about insurance claims and dealing with insurance companies. We've got with us Heath Brooks and William Meservey, both from Timberlake and League, and we've got callers waiting. We've got Larry on the line with a question from Trinity. Larry, thanks for waiting. What's your question tonight?
My question is, how do I know if my car, I was involved in an accident last Tuesday about 5 o'clock when it was pouring down rain.
Okay.
And it was the other person's fault. It's wrote up on the police report as she failed to yield right away.
Okay.
But anyway, her insurance company is refusing to pay it because they can't get in touch with her, and she won't return any phone calls. So they said they wasn't paying a nickel. But anyway, so I turned it over to my insurance company, and my insurance company is going to take care of it.
Good.
So, but my question is, like, if they come up and say my car is total and they offer me a certain price, how do I know if I'm getting a fair price or not?
Good question.
Yeah. So it's just the fair market value is what you're entitled to in Alabama. And that's not what you paid for it. It's not what you might think of as replacement cost, what it would cost to put you in a same or similar vehicle. And so it does get, it can be hard to figure out. They don't have to follow Kelley Blue Book. But the Kelley Blue Book will give you a pretty good idea of what the range of the value of your vehicle is. And it's a range. It'll say, here's the low end and here's the high end. And a lot of times, depending on your insurance carrier, they will offer you more towards the high end. while someone else's insurance carrier, who you're not a customer of, is probably going to offer you more towards the lower end. And you can get some added value for new tires that you just had put on, or a transmission rebuild or something like that, if it's within the past 6 months. But by and large, you're going to be entitled to that, somewhere in that little range of what it's entitled to. So you can go to Kelley Blue Book online. It's a free service, and look it up, and it'll give you a pretty good idea of what the fair market value of that vehicle is for your particular zip code.
Larry, I'll tell you something else that I normally do too. In addition to going to Kelley Blue Book, William's exactly right. Once you get past Kelley Blue Book, think about your car as when you buy a house. And the way that a house is valued is what are other houses being sold for in your general area. So the way that you figure that out is you go on, if you've got access to the internet, go on cars.com and go on autotrader.com. Both of those websites have a good ability to see what cars are for sale in our geographic area. So put your year in, put your make, put your model, put your bells and whistles, and figure out what your car is being sold for on dealer lots. And then when the insurance company comes to you and they try to lowball you, you can have actual printouts and say, well, hang on just a minute. I can buy this car over at this Ford dealership for this value right now. You're low. And you can give them what the term for it is an exemplar. You can give them an exemplar, and you can be on the nose of the dog rather than the tail of the dog, and know what your car is worth before they even make you an offer. So you're prepared if they try to lowball you. That's typically how we do it, you know, when we're looking at values of cars.
I like that.
So let's discuss, though, why they denied that claim.
Yeah.
So in your contract of insurance, there's a clause, and it's a cooperation duty. So you have a duty to cooperate with your insurance carrier in the investigation of claims. And so in this particular instance, the lady responsible for the wreck didn't pick up the phone when the insurance called. And you know, the insurance is going to rest on that and say, look, she hadn't cooperated with us, so we don't owe the coverage, right? And it's really much more complex than that, what they have to show for a failure to duty to cooperate. It's a lot more than just not picking up the phone. So if you would get that property damage resolved through your own insurance carrier, how are they going to get their money back?
Yeah, so you know, that's a good point. There's a whole system that goes on behind the scenes called arbitration, that insurance companies will argue with each other about who's responsible for paying. So if your insurance company pays for your car, they're going to want to get their money back. And where are they going to go? They're going to go to the insurance company of the person who caused the wreck. And not only are they going to try to get their money back, but I'm guessing that you have a deductible, Larry, that you're going to be out because you're having to get your own insurance company to pay. And a lot of times your insurance company will work to get that deductible back. And if they're unable to get the insurance money back from the insurance of the person who's responsible for the wreck, then they may try to go after her as well. So that's something that you may want to follow along with your own insurance company. Follow that process to see if you can get your deductible back.
That's right. And so what a lot of people don't realize is that when they go through their own insurance company in a situation like that to resolve that claim, they're taking the yoke off their shoulders and putting the yoke on the shoulders of their insurance company to go chase that fellow through the woods and see if they can't collect their money.
Yep.
And that means you don't have to chase them through the woods
Yeah.
to try to collect your money. You've got insurance, and you've, again, paid a premium, and that contract says that they're going to pay for your damages. But at the time they do, then you're transferring your right to them to go sue this person to get the money back.
Very interesting. Okay, we've got Jeff on the line with a question from Owens Crossroads. Hi, Jeff. Thanks for calling. What's your question tonight?
Oh, I was just curious, and I think I already know the answer to it, but maybe about a month ago, I just bought a new car, and and I was sitting there at the red light there by Publix, and I got rear-ended.
Okay.
And it pushed, and this is a well-built car, brand new Mercedes, pushed the trunk into the back seat.
Yep.
And I knew as soon as they got out of the truck that hit me, I knew they didn't have insurance. I was profiling, I guess.
Okay.
But I knew. So, and sure enough, they didn't. So at the end of the day, I mean, I wasn't injured. It knocked me silly, but I wasn't injured.
Good.
That's good news.
And so at the end of the day, you just let the insurance company deal with it, because I'm not seeking any kind of damages or anything like that. But
the easiest routes for you, if the other driver's uninsured, again, if you've got full coverage, you're going to want to resolve that through your own insurance carrier. You will be out your deductible. But in this instance, instead of your insurance company acting through the Inter-Arbitration Act agreement and going to the other party's insurance company, they're going to go turn this guy over to collections for every nickel that they pay out on your behalf. And if he doesn't respond to that, they're going to sue him. They're going to get a judgment against him, and they will garnish wages. They will pursue assets, and they will, again, chase him through the woods to collect their money. And so that's something that follows people around for a long time, and they don't realize, hey, there's some real financial dangers to driving with no insurance. But to this day, the statistics are 1 in 5 drivers in Alabama are uninsured.
Yeah, that's
Really?
True. Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
The other thing is, if you don't have insurance, sometimes you'll have your card. We see this from time to time. You'll have your card, you'll give it to the officer.
Yeah.
The officer will write down you have, whatever kind of insurance, and then come to find out your insurance was canceled, 6 weeks prior, and so you didn't actually have insurance. Well, if that's the case, and the insurance company, like in your situation, the insurance company has to pay for the damages to your vehicle, oftentimes the insurance company will alert the Department of Motor Vehicles, and what happens is if you didn't have insurance and you're not able to pay the damages to the vehicle that you caused damage to, you'll lose your license for a specific period of time until you get insurance. And I think it's still at 90 days that you lose your license. So I mean, it can be some pretty significant penalties.
And Alabama's made some good strides in trying to ensure that their drivers all have insurance. So now when you go renew tags, anything along those lines, register a vehicle, you're going to carry your proof of insurance down there and you're going to show it. What happens is people set up their insurance on monthly payments. They make that first month's payment. They get their proof of insurance. They go down and they get their license renewed, or they get their tags renewed, or they get their vehicle registered.
Yeah.
And then that next month rolls around and they just maybe don't get around to paying that insurance bill, and it lapses, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it only lapses for 8 days until they make that insurance payment again. But sometimes they just don't make any more.
Yeah.
And so it is one of those things that unfortunately happens, even if you're doing what you're supposed to do to financially protect yourself.
That's right.
Good luck with it, Jeff. We're going to take a break. Be right back answering your questions about insurance claims. If you didn't get your questions answered tonight, here's how to get in touch with Heath Brooks and William Meservey with Timberlake and League, 256-536-0770 or 800-804-2502. The website is law-injury.com. And if you like them on Facebook, you can learn more about the law that way.
And Sharon Doviet does family law, child custody, divorces. She can be reached at 256-539-7337 and on the web, www.sharonfamilylaw.com.
Thanks for all your calls and questions tonight, everybody. Stay safe.
Have a great night.
Good night.